9.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am joined in this steamy hot studio.
Yeah,
morning
usually
with,
air conditioner problems.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? It's not even the heat as much. It's just everything is so wet. It's just so sticky in here. Anyway,
I don't like using the M word, but it is.
Yeah, that voice that you hear is Pete Coles. Yeah, I know we're not saying the M thing right now, but it is super wet out here. It's very humid.
Yes,
very humid.
Yes,
absolutely. Very humid. So, but I have my shirt on with my little lemonade glass and so forth. I'm trying to think cool, be cool, look cool, but I don't feel cool. I can tell you that.
Okay, I gotcha.
All right, but anyway, so today is June 9th, and so Pedro, you're a little bit little tired from last week, a little fatigued after
Still trying to catch up.
A week of insanity. We had graduations and we had Memorial Day and we had award ceremonies and tapings and
it was a
busy week.
Crazy week. And then meetings every night, the usual meetings every night. And I look forward to, I'm going to miss being informed.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not going to miss having meetings every single night. I'm just, I'm not.
I think you hit the saturation point, Pete.
I hit the wall about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Where I just was like, I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up tired.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is.
It has been a long haul, my friend.
Right. And then now, we potentially go back to, we start the budget meetings on Zoom.
Yes, we do.
And we will finish the budget meetings, it looks like, unless the State House somehow pulls out a last-minute deal. We'll finish the budget meetings in council chambers.
I don't know, Pete, because there is an article in this morning's Westfield News that I glanced at on my way in, and I guess the Senate is taking up some of those provisions that the governor sent over about extending, some of the things that have been happening during COVID. Yeah, right. The provisions, and one of them is the extension of the virtual meeting.
Right. If we could extend it till September,
that would be wonderful.
Get us through the summer.
Yeah, get us through the summer.
And I think there's a couple boards and commissions.
Totally agree.
I mean, I know City Council wants to go back as of July 1st no matter what, and I'm cool with that. I'm perfectly fine. So does school committee, and I'm fine with that. They've been pushing for that for a long time.
City Council doesn't, other than once the budget is done, they don't meet over the summer in person.
Once or twice.
Yeah, but so for them it's like, well.
Right, same thing with school committee. They pretty much have a very
exactly.
subdued.
Kind of quiet July for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And then things start ramping up a little in August.
Yeah, and we'll just see what goes from there. But I know there's still some people that are uncomfortable right now of meeting in person.
Yeah. I'm right there.
I'm not.
I know you're not. You're good. I'm there. But we did. We have started. We actually had our first indoor program at the senior center on Monday. And it was so funny because the other directors think I'm hysterical. I said, I started with the chess players because they're well behaved. They follow all the rules and they're so quiet. You don't even know they're there.
Yeah.
So they were a great group to start with. They came in and they signed their release of liability forms. They read them, they signed them. They went down to the Creativity Center and they quietly played chess for 2 hours. It was just wonderful. And I asked one of them the next day, he came through the lunch line and I said, how was chess? And he said, it was just great.
People need to get out.
Yeah, it was just great. We had everybody, spaced and we didn't have it wasn't overcrowded in there and everybody had room and it was just really nice.
Yeah, people really just, and at this point in the everything,
Yeah.
they need to get out. They need to socialize,
Yeah.
and that's what's going on right now,
Right.
which is great.
And I think, in our case, we're just trying to do it safely. We are not
Yeah.
throwing the doors open.
Right,
Let's see, tomorrow we'll start the art class. So the art group will meet. They've pre-registered. They called in yesterday. And again, they'll not too many in the room. Everything's by pre-registration, so we can keep our numbers manageable. We're not at the old
Right, and you're
capacity numbers, but we're just kind of Joe Rouse and I came up with some reasonable numbers.
right, and you're not being overregulated by
Nope.
the state.
Nope.
They're saying, hey,
Nope.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do,
Yep.
and you guys figure it out.
Yep.
Which is how it should have been from the beginning.
Yeah, and you know what? And I have been trying to tell the seniors, go to any senior center in the Pioneer Valley, and we are all doing something different.
Right, because you
And
know your
that's
facility.
okay. We
It's
know our
because-
facility. We know our seniors. It's dependent on the interpretation of the guidelines through the boards of health, our local boards of health, and our town administrators and mayors. They all have different takes on it as well. So, but we're all kind of doing the same thing in terms of scaling up operations slowly and quietly throughout the summer. And hopefully by the time we hit the fall, it'll be what we're all calling the new normal, because it is not the way it used to be at any of the senior centers. I can tell you that right now. Because why isn't the schedule the same? Why isn't this the same? Everything's different. Part of the reason it's
because
different.
it's been so long, we don't know. We don't remember what
Right.
normal is. So
Well-
I think new normal's technically an oxymoron. But
Well, and you know what, Pete? But the other thing is that some of the things, and every single director found this, and I did, and so did my staff. There are some things that we changed and we did that we liked. I mean, we changed it because of COVID, but it's like, hey, we're not going back. That works.
right, it's something you never had time to think about because you were involved
Right.
in the day-to-day
Right.
tunnel.
Or that we didn't even, realize that we needed or that would work better. And now that we're saying, oh, well, you know what? That works better.
Yep.
We're going to keep it that way. So that's happening. And because of that, it's throwing some of the other stuff off kilter a little bit. So it's a learning curve, for everybody. So just, bear with us, but we're getting there. We're making
Yeah, it'll
progress.
get there.
So I think that'll be great.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get some computers back up from
That's
last night.
okay. I know we lost
I had to come in
power
here
and-
last night after Conservation Commission was 3 hours last night. So some of these computers need some time to settle back in.
Yep.
So I was here at 10 o'clock last night, firing back up everything and getting things running.
No
and
wonder you're exhausted. All right. Well, you do that. I'll start doing some famous birthdays. So today we have famous and not so famous birthdays, but let's start with the famous one. So it is the birthday of the late George Stephenson. He was an engineer born on this date, June 9th, in 1781 in Newcastle, England. He died at the age of 66 in 1848. George Stephenson was a self-made mechanical engineer, largely credited with building the first railway line and becoming, quote, the father of the railways. His rail gauge of 4 feet, 8.5 inches became the global standard gauge. He also developed a miner's safety lamp, a coal miner's safety lamp, the kind with the
Yeah, sure,
headlight
yeah,
in it.
yeah.
Yeah. Both of his parents were illiterate, and they did not have enough money to send George to school. However, George was keen to get an education, so devoted his evenings to learning to read and write. At the age of 17, he entered a coal mine working as an engineer. He gained a reputation as an excellent engineer, and in particular, he became an expert in steam-driven engineering. His knowledge was essentially practical. I know you'd love that, Pete, right?
Yep.
Learning through trial and error rather than theoretical science. He was just in the coal mine, in the field, doing it, learning, okay? In 1818, his common sense and willingness to experiment led him to develop a miner's safety lamp. At the time, many explosions were caused by naked flames that they couldn't see when they were down there. Remember, it was pitch black. Stephenson wasn't the first to design a realistic steam engine. However, he was able to improve on the initial designs, creating a much more powerful and practical locomotive that was capable of carrying substantial amounts of coal. In 1820, Stephenson built the first railway, which didn't use animal power but relied on steam. This was followed by the Stockton to Darlington Railway of 1825. The 25-mile railway was an important development in steam-only railways. It was opened to great fanfare, and the engine, locomotion, reached a speed of 24 miles per hour on
That's
one
pretty good.
stretch, carrying 8 tons of coal and flour. It was also the first engine to have a passenger car. The gauge used in the construction of this line, 8.5 inches, became the world's standard gauge. So happy birthday to self-made engineer, inventor, George Stephenson. I thought that was pretty cool, you know? I'm really getting into the famous birthdays, Pete, on the science guys and the inventors and the explorers. You know, they're interesting.
On the first locomotive, there's a competing guy.
Yes.
Named Maury. Remember we covered him?
Yep.
And my ex-wife believes that they're related to their family.
Oh, no kidding.
And the engine for the Maury, remember, is in Maury Lake in Vermont.
Okay.
And there's a resort up there, which
No
I've
kidding.
stayed at.
Really?
Yes. We had a Maury
Wow.
family reunion up there.
Up there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Just
How
before
far
I
up?
got married.
How far up in Vermont is this? Are we
Oh,
talking
it's
way
only-
up or just
it's-
over the border?
It's not far past White River Junction.
Oh, that's right over the border. That's
Right,
not
yeah,
bad.
it's close by.
Wow.
Nice place to stay. Golf course up there.
Very cool.
Nice lake.
No, oh man, really?
Yeah, tell Gary.
I will tell Gary. I will. I'd like to get a
It's
little
called
bit.
the Maury Resort.
The Maury.
Morey.
Morey. Maury. Okay, Mor. I'm gonna Google that one, Pete.
Yep.
Gary and I have a big anniversary coming up in a few weeks.
Nice place. They're
Okay.
I don't know what to do now, but
Yeah.
pre-COVID they would have dinner. It's like
Yeah.
an old style Catskills type
Oh,
resort
I love that.
where you'd have dinner included in your room stay, and it was like
Oh,
a
I
dining room and
love
stuff like
that.
that, and
Oh,
they had water sports and they had a beach on the lake, and they had a golf course, and yeah,
I'm checking it out, Pete.
and the town was
Sounds
nice
good.
too.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. It is also the birthday today, June 9th, of the late Cole Porter. This one really should have been, this was like all about Bob Plass. He would have loved having Cole Porter's birthday during his radio show, during his Wow, It's Tuesday show. Cole Porter was a composer and lyricist. He was born on this day in 1891 in Peru, Indiana. He died October 15th, 1964 at the age of 73. A talented composer and songwriter, Cole Porter handled both music and lyrics with ease and conquered Broadway and Hollywood with his witty songs. While an undergrad at Yale University, Porter wrote the fight song Bulldog, as well as a few hundred other pieces for student productions. As his grandfather didn't want him to have a career in music, Cole Porter was dispatched to Harvard's law school. However, he switched to studying music, though his grandfather was told that he continued to be a law student. See, those were in the days before Facebook and social media, so Grandpa didn't know any differently. Thought Cole Porter was studying law. Porter wrote Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love for Paris in 1928. The song was a hit and the beginning of a successful Broadway career that reached new heights in the 1930s. Anything Goes in 1934 contained more popular numbers, including I Get a Kick Out of You and You're the Top. His talents found a home on the big screen as well. Easy to Love, I've Got You Under My Skin, and In the Still of the Night were all written for the movies. In 1937, Cole Porter was in a riding accident. A horse fell on top of him, crushing both of his legs. The after effects of his injuries would force Porter to endure more than 30 operations and years of pain. However, in spite of this, he continued to work, producing memorable songs like Friendship and You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To. In Kiss Me Kate, Porter once again had a musical hit, receiving a Tony Award for his work. Probably the show's most famous song was, and this I saved this for today, too darn hot. So there we go. Happy birthday to Cole Porter. All right, it is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of the birthday of George Stephenson, we're going to listen to Little Eva singing Locomotion. We'll be back.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. I know you get to like it if you give it a chance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. My little baby sister can do it with me. It's easier than learning your ABC. So come on, do the locomotion with me. You gotta swing your hips now. Come on, baby. Jump up, jump back. Well, I think you got the knack. Whoa, whoa. Now that you can do it, let's make a change now. Come on, baby. Do the locomotion. A chugga motion like a railroad train now. Come on, baby. Do the locomotion. Do it nice and easy now. Don't lose control. A little bit of rhythm and a lot of soul. Come on, do the locomotion with me. Yeah. Move around the floor in a locomotion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. Do it holding hands if you get the notion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. There's never been a dance that's so easy to do. It even makes you happy when you're feeling blue. So come on, do the locomotion with me. Come on, you gotta swing your hips now. Come on, that's right. You're doing fine. Come on, baby. Jump up, jump back. You're looking good.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Join us every Thursday morning.
From 6 until at least 7:30,
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show.
right here on WSKB 89.5.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in this steamy hot studio with producer Pete Coles. Although, you know, Pete, it feels like I'm starting to feel a little cool air coming from somewhere.
There could be, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't want to move because it's feeling really good.
Yesterday we had the
Just
problem of
cool.
we had the problem of nothing, and
yeah.
the dampers were closed apparently.
Ooh.
The automatic chain broke or something.
Ah, okay.
So they opened them up all by hand, and it got a
Okay.
little cooler, and it
Yep.
was tough yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was listening to Bob's show, which, by the way, we can have a whole other discussion. That was so interesting. But yeah, you had mentioned it's 85 degrees in here, and I thought, okay, just dressing really nice and cool tomorrow. But
Right.
but it does feel it's
It'll probably start-
starting to feel better right now.
Yeah, I
So
think the air
it's nice.
conditioning actually actually
kicks on
at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that's what happens at the senior center. It was just usually when I'm leaving to come over here because I stop over there. The lights, everything kicks on at like 10 minutes to 6. So as that's when I know it's like, oh man, I'm running late. I got to get out of here. The lights are kicking on. I should be I should be at the studio by now. It's 10 of. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I know exactly. Okay, so some more. So, well, first of all, let me mention this. Second hour, we have Rebecca Fondakowski, who will be with us this morning. This is the first time Rebecca's been on our show. She is and let me get this title right. She's the Enriched Life Director at Armbrook Village. And the reason that I asked Rebecca to, actually, I texted or I emailed Beth Cardillo, who's the executive director at Armbrook, and asked her if she would like to be on the show. And she said, well, I'm going to send, she said I would, but she said instead I'm going to send Rebecca Fondakowski down there because I said to them, I keep opening up the Westfield News and looking at all these pictures of all these really fun events that you guys are doing at Armbrook Village. I feel like at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, there's a photo spread. And I just thought, where are you guys coming up with these great ideas? And everybody's having a ball. And so I just thought, let's make this a fun show and talk about all that. And are there any of those kinds of programs that maybe caregivers who are at home can do with their loved one? Or are there some transferable things that we can do here? So anyway, Beth said, I'm sending Rebecca. She's full of energy and fun, and she'll be great. So she will be joining us second hour.
Okay.
Today is the Brown Bag Food Distribution Program over at the Senior Center. So we'll be finishing the program about 5 minutes early so I can run over to the Senior Center and help get set up for that. And so for those of you, we did have some people asking yesterday, just as a reminder, Brown Bag is this morning between 9 and 10. It's always the Wednesday after the second Tuesday of the month. Miss Karen Noblet said to us yesterday, there's a little newsletter that we give out from the food pantry, the Western Mass food bank, which is up in Hatfield right now. And for 15 months, they have insisted on putting the wrong date. They're putting the old date of when we used to do the brown bag program, which was the second Tuesday of the month. We can't do that. Food gets delivered and on the second Tuesday of the month, and then within a half an hour, we have to start serving lunch. We're doing curbside lunches, so we can't do it all. So we changed it to the next day for the distribution. And finally, this month, after 15 months of telling them, stop putting the wrong date in the newsletter because we're not going to give the newsletter out anymore, they have the right date in today, this month. So Karen was like, yay,
so now are you going to change it back?
No, we're not going to change it back.
Are you going to still continue to do curbside even after you're fully back?
Here we go, Pete. So
segue?
Remember when I said before that there were some things that we were doing that we found better? We're going to continue to keep the brown bag program curbside. That is one program that is it is so much more efficient to do it this way.
How about lunches?
Lunches
You're going to do
are
both?
Up in the air. I can't do both at the same time. Stay tuned, Pete, because that is a subject that the staff is talking about. Actually, that's a subject that every director that I know of in the Pioneer Valley, because this was a hot topic last week on our directors meeting.
Some days, like Tuesday, Thursday.
Ding, 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 ding.
See, look at I have a nice little brain on my shoulders.
So that's what I'm thinking, but we have to figure it all out.
You don't want to curtail the socialization aspect because that's very important, especially among seniors.
Correct, but
as important as it is amongst the elementary school kids, it is as important for the seniors.
No doubt about it, Pete. But here's the dilemma that the directors are facing. We know that there are people that are coming through the curbside lunch line who won't or can't come into the building if we just put it in the building. I mean, we do have some people there's no question about it. There are folks with mobility issues that struggle to get from inside their house into the car. Once they're in the car, they're okay, but just walking is a real challenge for them. And so, they wouldn't be able to make it into the building. And others who just, for a whole variety of reasons, some of which are caregiving issues. I have some people who can scoot out for 20 minutes or a half an hour for the person that they're trying to care for, but not for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
And they're bringing back a meal to the person they care for.
Right, exactly. And they can't, or they can get out, but they can't necessarily get that person that they're caring for out. So lots of different issues. And, as the director said, we now have this whole cohort of people who are coming through the meal line, the curbside lunch line, but couldn't get into the building. And, we have one of the directors said, my staff member said, well, just go back to the way we used to do it because, now they're just going to have to come in the building. But it's like, but we didn't know about this cohort before. Now we know about them. So what are we going to do? Just ignore them and say, well, gee, too bad. I guess you can't get a curbside meal and now you can't get a meal inside because you can't make it in. Mm-hmm. So we are working it all out. So lots of different, but you and I are on the same wavelength, Pete. So that's what I'm thinking. So that'll be my suggestion to the other directors who are coming up with some of their own pretty creative ideas for all of this. So stay tuned. And we will a little bit later in the hour go through, some of what we're doing now and what's to come next month. We are gradually scaling up operations throughout the summer. So stay tuned, folks. Okay, today is the birthday of the late Dr. Forrest M. Bird. He was an aviator and inventor and another really cool guy that came up with a really cool invention. And I specifically chose him, not just because he was born on this day in 1921, but he was born in Stoughton, Massachusetts. So he's a Massachusettsite. He died just a few years ago at the age of 94. He died in 2015. But here's his story. So Dr. Forrest Bird began tinkering with gizmos concocted out of strawberry shortcake tins and doorknobs, and eventually developed 4 generations of cardiopulmonary devices that came to be widely used in homes and hospitals. In the 1950s and 1960s, he pioneered some of the first portable and reliable mechanical ventilators for people with acute and chronic heart and lung afflictions. These relatively small devices, used in all but the worst cases, made primitive and expensive mechanisms like the iron lung virtually obsolete only a decade after hospital wards had been lined with them at the height of paralytic polio epidemics. Dr. Bird was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 1995 for developing the first low-cost, mass-produced pediatric respirator known as the Baby Bird, which has been credited by medical experts with significantly reducing the mortality rates of infants with respiratory problems. Dr. Bird received the Presidential Citizens Medal from George W. Bush in 2008 and the National Medal of Technology and Innovation from President Obama in 2009. So I thought that was really a pretty amazing story. But here's a little bit of interesting trivia because I know my friend Pete Coles back there loves trivia.
Yep.
In 1935, Forrest Bird graduated at age 14 from Stoughton High School in an accelerated academic program. He also soloed in his father's biplane. By 16, he was a certified pilot.
Wow.
Now, this is really cool. He recalled that on an otherwise routine flight over Massachusetts on May 6, 1937, he glimpsed a massive airship heading southwest. And here's a quote from Dr. Bird. I flew up alongside it, he told Morley Safer for a 60 Minutes profile of him on CBS in 2007, and I first saw the swastika on the end. It was the great German Zeppelin Hindenburg bound for Lakehurst, New Jersey, where hours later it burst into flames in the most spectacular air disaster of the age. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So happy birthday to Forrest Bird, inventor of basically kind of the portable respirator ventilator, and how important has that been to us during this COVID-19 pandemic. So pretty cool. All right, we'll do one more before we take a break. It is the birthday of famous fowl Donald Duck. Donald Duck was born June 9th, 1934. He's 87 years old. Donald Duck is a cartoon character created in 1934 by the Walt Disney Company. Donald is a white duck with a yellow-orange bill, legs, and feet. He typically wears a sailor shirt and cap with a bow tie. Donald is known for his semi-intelligible speech and his mischievous, temperamental, and pompous personality. Donald's 2 dominant personality traits are his fiery temper and his upbeat attitude to life. Many Donald shorts start with Donald in a happy mood without a care in the world until something comes along and spoils his day. His rage is a great cause of suffering in his life. Along with his friend Mickey Mouse, Donald was included in TV Guide's list of the 50 greatest cartoon characters of all time and has earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He has appeared in more films than any other Disney character and is the most published comic book character in the world outside of the superhero genre. So, happy 87th birthday to Donald Duck.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, it is 6:31. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And in honor of the birthday of Cole Porter, we're going to listen to a song from the soundtrack from Anything Goes. In my former life, Pete, this was before BG, that was before Grace. I used to do a lot of community theater, believe it or not. And I co-produced Anything Goes for the Needham Community Theater when I was living out in the Boston area. So I decided to use a song from Anything Goes, and this is Friendship. We'll be back.
We're together, Billy, through thick and thin.
Night and day, right or wrong.
If you're ever in a jam, here I am.
If you're ever in a mess, SOS. If you ever feel so happy you land in jail, I'm your bail.
That's friendship, friendship, just the perfect friendship. When other friendships have been forgot, ours will still be hot. A-la-la-la-la-la, dig, dig, dig.
If you're ever up a tree, phone to me.
If you're ever down a well, ring my bell.
If you ever lose your teeth and you're out to dine, borrow mine.
That's friendship, friendship, just the perfect friendship.
When other friendships go up in smoke,
Ours will still be oak.
ka-la-da-la-da-la-da, chug-chug-chug. If they ever black your eyes, put me wise.
If they ever cook your goose, turn me loose.
If they ever put a bullet through your parade, we'll complain.
That's friendship, friendship, just the perfect friendship. When other friendships have been forget, ours will still be it. A-la-da-da-da-da, dig, dig, dig.
Ha-la-da-la-da-la-da, chug-chug-chug.
A-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. A man's best friend is his, man's best friend is his, man's best friend is his friend.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
Are you waking up a little bit here, Pete?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we got a long day. Now, do you have meetings? What's on tap for tonight? Meetings tonight?
I think I only have one. I think a legislative ordinance meeting.
L&O.
Yep.
L&O.
Assessors went back in person,
Okay.
and Board of Health canceled, I think.
So now, Pete, for those who have gone back in person, whatever happened with, or do those meetings get taped now, or what happened with
No,
that?
they don't.
No, they don't. Okay.
Nope. We go back to what we were doing before because there's no requirement to record a meeting.
Okay.
There was a requirement to broadcast at least the audio of any public meeting that the public could not attend.
Gotcha. Okay.
That was part of the governor's emergency
So
order.
now that those, like if the assessors are meeting in person, so the public would be allowed
it's listed
to
at
go
the
in.
assessor's
Okay.
office. Yeah, you have to allow the public.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, guys.
I know the police commission met in person yesterday in 201.
Okay. Yeah, I think the COA board will probably do one more virtual, and then I think we'll be
After
ready.
the 15th, you can't.
Yeah, right
Unless
now.
they extend
yeah,
it.
Yeah, which they may. But anyway, even if they do, I think I have a small enough board that I think people will be comfortable and ready to go back. We'll talk about that at my meeting on Monday. We have a meeting coming up Monday. All right, today is the birthday of Teddy Bruschi. Remember Teddy Bruschi, NFL linebacker for the New England Patriots? He was born.
Don't need to remember. He's on ESPN all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He was born on this day in 1973 in San Francisco, California. He's 48 years old today. Teddy Bruschi is a former professional American football player who was a linebacker in the National Football League for 13 seasons. He currently serves as the senior advisor to the head coach at the University of Arizona, which is where he played football and was a two-time consensus All-American. He was drafted by the New England Patriots in the third round of the 1996 NFL Draft and played his entire professional career with the Patriots. Bruschi won 3 Super Bowls and was a 2-time All-Pro selection. On February 16, 2005, just 3 days after playing in the 2005 Pro Bowl, Bruschi was taken to a hospital and was diagnosed with a mild stroke. On October 16, 2005, the Patriots announced that Bruschi had been medically cleared to resume playing football. He rejoined the team, and on October 30th, he played against the Buffalo Bills. Later that year, Teddy Bruschi was named to the 2005 NFL Comeback Player of the Year. So happy 48th birthday to Teddy Bruschi. And it is the birthday of actor, producer, author, and activist Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox was born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada on this date in 1961. Meaning, Pete, that today Michael J. Fox is 60 years old. And we all
Just
know
make yourself
what
feel
that
old.
means. But we all know what that means. He's 60. So he can officially join the Westfield Senior Center. So, Michael J. Fox, come on down. Fill out a form. Or if you'd like, I'll mail you the form and let's make you a member of the Westfield Senior Center. You are now eligible.
I dare you to find out his management company and send him the form. I dare you.
Oh, Pete, I might just have you take you up on that one. I feel this connection. I've always felt this connection to Michael J. Fox. Okay, so actor Michael J. Fox first became widely known for his role as Alex P. Keaton on the popular sitcom Family Ties. The character Keaton was a young conservative, often spouting viewpoints at odds with his progressive parents, Elise and Stephen, played by Meredith Baxter and Michael Gross, while also contending with sisters Mallory and Jennifer, played by Justine Bateman and Tina Yothers, and becoming a nurturing figure to little brother Andy, played by Brian Bonsall. Family Ties is considered one of TV's enduring sitcoms, and Fox won a Golden Globe and 3 consecutive Emmys for his role as Keaton. He later starred in the teen adventure fare Back to the Future and its sequels, and Teen Wolf before returning to television in the 1990s in Spin City. In 1999, Fox announced that he had been battling Parkinson's disease since 1991. He left Spin City in 2000 to launch the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research and Focus on Family, later guest starring on such shows as Scrubs, Boston Legal, and The Good Wife. So, happy 60th birthday to Michael J. Fox. And I'm just realizing now that he has been battling Parkinson's disease for 30 years. That's amazing. That's actually quite amazing for somebody with Parkinson's, which is a progressive disease. So happy birthday. So those, my friend, are all of the famous birthdays for today. However, we have one not so famous birthday today, Pete.
I don't know. I think it pretty much is.
I don't know. So today, on this date, back in 1957, in Passaic, New Jersey, was born Christine Jude Siklosi, who we now know as Tina Gorman. It is my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So, of course, I always announce everybody's ages, so I have to announce mine. I'm 64 years old today, so I'm 1 year out from Medicare, Pete. I never thought I'd get that far. So, Tina Gorman, let's see, what would you like to know? She graduated from Randolph High School, which is where she met her best friend and lifelong partner and future husband, Dr. Gary Gorman, who was not a doctor when they met. And the rest is history, as they say. And I would say if I were going to put, my greatest achievement, like I usually do for my scientists and explorers and, actors and actresses, I would say that it was the building of the Westfield Senior Center 5.5 years ago. That is my.
Has it been there that long? Wow.
Yeah, 5.5 years ago. We, unfortunately, Mary Lou and I had this big 5-year anniversary party planned for last October, which we had started planning the year before, and then COVID hit, so that all went down the tubes. But yeah, it's been it'll be 6 years this October, so we have 5.5 years that we've been in the building, which is hard to believe. But that is my claim to fame. So there it is, folks. All right, what else do we have? Oh, we'll do one more thing before we play our next song. So June is National Dairy Month. And June National Dairy Month started out as a way to distribute extra milk during the warm months of summer. The commemoration was established way back when. This was set up in 1937 by grocer organizations sponsoring National Milk Month. By 1939, June became the official dairy month, and it's still celebrated today. Whether it's in coffee, cereal, or smoothies, adding one more serving of milk to your family's day can help ensure that they get the nutrients they need to build strong bones and teeth. Trusted for decades, dairy farm families pride themselves on producing wholesome dairy foods that help their families grow up strong and healthy. So here are a few interesting facts about dairy foods and farming. America's favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla. The second is chocolate. Farmers measure milk. I didn't know this, Pete. Farmers measure milk in pounds, not gallons.
Correct.
So 8.6 pounds per gallon is the standard.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. It takes about 10 pounds of milk to create 1 pound of cheese and just over 21 pounds to make a pound of butter. Dairy cows eat about 100 pounds of food every day and drink 25 to 50 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. I mean, when you look at a dairy farm and you see all those cows and each cow's drinking 25 to 50 gallons of water, that's a lot. Now, chew on these historical tidbits about milk and dairy. Home delivery of milk started in 1942 as a war conservation measure. Early cheesemakers shaped Edam into balls to roll down the gangplanks of ships for export. And Little Miss Muffet's curds, in the nursery rhyme,
Mm-hmm.
Little Miss Muffet's curds and whey were actually an early version of cottage cheese. So There you have it. All these June Dairy Month fun facts. So that brings me to.
And if they have the Big E, you'll find the big butter cow.
The big butter cows. Explain.
Yeah, don't they have every year they carve a.
I haven't been to Big E now in quite a while.
They carve a cow out of butter, and it's in a refrigerated case in a glass display case.
Is that in one of the
farm buildings? Yeah.
Oh, in the farm. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Oh, I like that.
You've never seen that before?
I can't. You know what? I don't remember that. I don't, and I feel like I would remember.
I need
it
to
if I'd
contact the
seen
Biggie.
it,
We're
but
taking your show on the road this year.
Good heaven, I know, just so that I can be next to the big butter cow.
Pull you out of the senior center for a day, and we're going to record a show over there.
All right. Okay, it is 6:45. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. Here I am, your Wake Up Wednesday host. And in honor of my birthday today, I'm playing the Beatles.
This was the song I was going to play when you announced your birthday.
Well, I wanted to make
And
sure I got it in there
yeah.
before I played this.
The programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here. Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:49. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And yep, today is my birthday. It is June 9th, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. Please say you're going to go home before like 7 o'clock at night.
Well, here's the thing that's really funny.
Gary, take her out to dinner.
So you know what my family said to me last night?
What?
So Gary comes... So Grace was out with her friend, one of her friends. So Gary says to me last night, as soon as I came home, he goes, Tina, he goes, I just want to tell you, he goes, your birthday's going to be really disjointed. So we're going to celebrate it on Saturday because he said he has to work all day. And then he coaches girls high school track over at East Longmeadow. They have a meet today. So he said the meet doesn't even start until 4, if they have it. Now, depending on the rain situation, that might get postponed. But he said, so he won't be home until later. So I said, okay, no problem. That's fine. He said, we'll do something nice. We'll, whatever. So I said, yeah, no problem at all. Grace comes home about an hour later. She comes downstairs. She goes, Mom, I know tomorrow's your birthday. She goes, would you mind if we kind of celebrated on a different day because Wednesday night is her night to get together with her boyfriend. They don't see each other all that.
I understand that.
All that often.
I get
yeah,
that.
you get it because she doesn't work on Thursday. She works all day Wednesday, and then she usually goes over to Isaac's right after that. So they can spend some time together because he works hard and she works. And so she said, Wednesday's our usual night, and she said I can change it. And I said, no. Thinking to myself, this is great. This is like the best birthday ever. Go home, kick back, have a glass of wine. Quiet. It's all good, Pete. All good. So we'll do the celebration.
I was going to say the
Saturday.
Ellen only has one item on their agenda. So if you'd like to meet for a beer at Skyline or something, I'm more than willing to meet you over there.
All right, we'll talk later. All right, so listen, guys. I wanted to first of all thank Lori Sapalik, and I do want to do some announcements on Senior Center programming and Channel 15 programming that we are continuing to do. And a lot of people have asked us, oh, Pete, I have to tell you this story about Channel 15.
How'd you like the John Lucido show?
Great. It was great. And you know
He's
what?
Awesome.
I was actually...
That was the first time I've done a music production without JPEG Luca.
Well, it came out great. And
so, yeah.
Here's the funny thing. I know this is going to be a shock and surprise to you, but I was working in my office on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I said, it was like 20 after 6, and I went, hey, wait a minute. The concert's on right now. I can live stream it. So I did. There I was on my computer listening to John Lucido in the background. Mm-hmm. So really cool stuff. But wait till you hear this great story. Woman called me on Monday. She needed a transfer wheelchair. Her husband had fallen, hurt his foot over the weekend. I think he broke his foot over the weekend. She said, I'm desperate. And she said, my 94-year-old aunt said to me, call the senior center. They loan out medical equipment. She said, because I'm transporting him around in an office chair, like this one, on wheels, just inside. She said, I just need something for inside. So I said, no problem. Come on down. She goes, I just need it for a month or so. I said, no problem. She comes down and she says to me, so I'm helping her to put, I put it in the car for her. And I'm about to turn around and she said, by the way, she said, I just wanted to tell you, she said, I wanted to thank you for all the programming that you're doing on Channel 15. And I said, oh, that's great. I'm glad that you're taking advantage. She goes, and on the YouTube, the stuff you bundled onto YouTube, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
She said, my husband is doing the chair yoga class with Terry Summers, which is available on YouTube, folks.
Sure, yeah,
she
anytime.
Said, every day. She
That's
said
great.
he is doing it at home every single day. He flips on the computer, puts on the YouTube thing. And Terry's done, I think, two or three,
of them, yeah.
right? Different, programs for his
Versions,
chair
yep.
yoga. Yep. And so she said, not once a week, not twice a week. She said he does it. He's been doing it every day. And you know what she said to me, Pete? She said, that programming has gotten us through the pandemic. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Yeah.
I think that is awesome. And
A lot of hard work.
I said to her, you know what? We are so glad to hear that. And I said, I will absolutely pass that on to the people that are making that possible. Mostly my media, the city's media system specialist, Pete Coles, because, that's one of those unknowns. I don't know that unless people tell us that. So,
Right. And that's, I normally get asked by the mayor, it's like, how do you know people are watching? I'm like, I don't know until somebody tells me, and
Right.
they tell me exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
they know exactly what we're talking about. So they can't, you can't be passive watching
Yeah.
to understand what we're talking about in any given day because
Right.
a lot of hosts get stopped.
And here's another one, Pete. So when I went in this morning at 5:30, my phone is blinking. And I thought, why is my phone blinking? I have a message. I was here last night until about 7 o'clock, and it's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm back in my office. Well, sure enough, somebody called me, Pete, because he has been watching Bob's Wow, It's Tuesday show. Saw the last couple weeks where Bob was doing celebrating gay pride and interviewing folks in the LGBTQ community. This person called me and wants to talk to Bob. So he said, would you give him my phone number and have him contact me? So isn't that great?
Yeah.
We're doing great. You're doing great stuff, Pete, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Lori Sapalik, thank you to her. Lori has done a couple of stories for us in the Westfield News. Earlier this week, this one is from Monday. She did a story on, it's right here it is, the Thrive one. On this month's Council on Aging Presents series, which is Jen Fernandez, who I guess went back to her maiden name, so it's now Jen Feldman. But for our purposes, Jen Fernandez. She did a program with Harry Rock, interviewed her about the Thrive program, which offers assistance to those who are struggling financially, just in terms of not giving them money, but helping them to navigate how to manage their money and budget, pay off credit cards, things like that. So that program is on Channel 15 every Tuesday at 2:45. And is that one, Pete, is that one up on YouTube, the Thrive one?
Oh,
yet?
God, yeah. I believe they're all up
okay.
there.
All right. Very good. So
I'm pretty good about uploading those. So.
yes. Yeah. I think almost, as Pete said, just about all of the Council on Aging Presents series. And we now, I think,
Right.
are up to either 13 or 14 of them. We've done a different one every month throughout the pandemic.
Right. There's only like one or two music performances that we couldn't
Right.
upload
I know we
because of-
couldn't do Kevin Farley, the
Right.
Irish music guy. That one, there were some, rights or whatever that we couldn't do.
Absolutely.
The other story that Lori Sapalik did in yesterday's paper, front page, is Channel 15 program focuses on eating healthier foods. And this one, there we go. This one has to do with our Diabetes Dialogue segment, which we will be doing next week. And the topic will be cholesterol and heart healthy fats, which to me sounds like an oxymoron because I didn't know any fats were heart healthy. But Jen Jafune facilitates that show on our program on the third Wednesday of the month, and she will actually be explaining that to us. And again, if people have questions that they want, I mean, Jen is a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. And if you have questions that you want Jen to address, you can certainly call into the station, but you can also call and leave me a message in advance and just say, listen, would you have Jen address such and such a question or an issue on air on the next program, and we're happy to do that. So thank you to Lori Sapalik for picking up some of those programs that we're doing. There's another program that I want to make sure that I mention because this is only offered during the month of June. And this is under the tent at the Senior Center out in the parking lot on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon. It's a rental assistance program. It's through the Community Development Block Grant. So I'm doing this in partnership with PJ Miller over in Community Development. There is money available for folks who are in danger of being evicted because of, perhaps a loss of job or a suspension in their job during COVID. There's a lot of money available, folks, for Westfield. It's specifically for Westfield. I believe there also if you have had trouble paying a mortgage because of something that happened with the pandemic, I believe that money is also available to you as well. The money is being filtered through the Valley Opportunity Council. So they contracted out with the city of Westfield. So they are the ones that are, going through the applications, processing the applications, and they wanted to make it as easy as possible for Westfield residents to apply to get this money. So instead of going to the Valley Opportunity Council, which is located in Chicopee, they are coming to you. So they are at the Senior Center. The money needs to be spoken for by the end of June because we're coming to the end of the fiscal year. So there's a lot of money out there. They have been getting customers. They have been getting people coming over to the Senior Center. Unfortunately, yesterday, because of the extreme heat, they decided not to do it. But they will be there tomorrow from 1 to 3. They're set up right outside. So just come on over to the Senior Center. If you have questions, they will help you they'll help to do the application with you right there. Can't make it any easier for you folks. So
Tina, I was just checking something, and there's
advantage.
32 videos in the Senior Center playlist.
That's amazing.
32.
Well, I don't know if you saw the email that I sent you and Harry last night. So not to be a spoiler here, I'm not going to tell people what the July Council on Aging Presents show will be about.
Yep.
But I'm really excited about it. And when I was when I was sending the email out to my potential guest or Harry's potential guest, I was trying to give him an idea of this is what we've done so far, and the list just kept coming. And I said, and I was doing it off the top of my head, and I said, well, we've covered legal, nutrition, dementia, veteran services, Valley Eye Radio, Medicare fraud. I mean, that it's just it's really varied, and that is just such a great series. It's called Westfield Council on Aging Presents. It's hosted by Harry Rock. I line up the guests, and Harry interviews them, which is really wonderful. And Pete, of course, tapes them and does whatever editing needs to be done. And they are aired during the month. So it's the same segment aired usually 4 times, unless we happen to have 5 Tuesdays in the month, every week. And then Pete's also putting them on YouTube so that if you've missed any of them, you can go back, and they're all fascinating. They're so interesting. So
Are we doing stuff over the summer too?
Yes, I have.
We have doing those by Zoom. I
yes,
guess.
I know. Well, we have the one for July will be taped in June before you leave. We could
do one squeeze one in before I leave.
Yes, that's the one that I sent the email.
I know, but
on,
I don't leave till the middle of July, so.
Oh, so we could do another one. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, then I'll line up the August one because I have somebody in mind for that.
That would make life a little bit easier for
okay,
me.
That sounds great. So, folks, before we do the top of it is 7:00, but I'm gonna and you are listening.
And your guest is here.
And my guest is here. But I just want to say a couple things before I bring her in. Just please remember, if you have not gotten a copy of the June Voice of Experience newsletter, you really need to do that, because I have a lot of people with a lot of questions about what programs are you running, what's outside, what's inside, what's curbside. All of that is in the June newsletter. So you can get it online. Go to the City of Westfield website, go under departments, just click Council on Aging. Scroll down.
That's what I do.
And there it is. Okay, so we have that. You can, if you want a hard copy, we have them in a large tan bin with a green cover right next to the Senior Center door. We have a lot of people that are going to the drop box and opening, the drop box is like a mailbox. The newsletters are not inside there. They're inside this other bin 24/7. You come to the Senior Center, take as many as you want. If you want to distribute them to people, I fill it up every day. I keep refilling it. And then they are located. They're pretty much at all the pharmacies. So if you don't see one, just ask the pharmacist, because they've got them tucked away somewhere. But they're at all the pharmacies. doctor's offices, wherever we can get them. But honestly, right now, most people are just driving up or the other thing is if you come through the lunch line, if you come at around 11:30, you don't really have to wait through the line, but I always have them on my cart when we're doing lunches. So lots of stuff going on. We have 7 programs that we're bringing indoors this month in June. We'll be ramping that up. Mary Lou and I are going to start planning the July schedule today, this afternoon, so I can start working on the newsletter. If you have not been vaccinated, folks, vaccines are available at all of the local pharmacies. They're located at the Big E. If you're over 60 and you need transportation.
I think the Big E is ramping down. So
yes, the Big E is probably starting to
slow
down.
Everywhere.
But you can get it, Walgreens, CVS, Stop and Shop Pharmacy. It's out there. If you need transportation, if you are a senior and you need transportation, and that's the only thing stopping you, call us at the Senior Center at 562-6435. We can get you there. And the other number I want to give you, because I just gave this out to a woman yesterday. She said, my husband came home from the hospital. He has not been vaccinated, but it's going to be really hard to get him to a site. They are now doing, vaccine is available for the homebound, and you don't have to be on your deathbed to get it. If you are, if you're homebound, and it would just be very difficult for you to get to a vaccine site, I'm going to give you a number to call. It is 833-983-0485. Just call that number. That's to the state. They will register you and they will set up your home vaccination, okay? And if you forget that number, you didn't have a chance to write it down, call us at the Senior Center and we will give you that. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest is here. When we come back, you're going to meet Rebecca Fondakowski. We will be right back.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:07. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am celebrating my birthday today with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So we're celebrating my 64th birthday, and I wore my lemonade shirt. I actually thought initially that this T-shirt had one of those little umbrella drink things, but it's really just like just a slice of lemonade. But I'll
Gotcha.
take what I can get. Let's
Okay.
just assume there's something mixed in with this lemonade. My guest this morning is from Armbrook Village. I'm so excited to have Rebecca Fondakowski as my guest. So I have to confess, Rebecca, so I emailed Beth Cardillo, who is the executive director at Armbrook Village, and Beth and I go way back. We actually first knew each other because we both taught at Springfield College back in the day for the same department. We were teaching in the Rehabilitation and Disability Studies department. So we had students that were taking, both of our classes. So we go back a long way. And Beth has been on my radio. I mean, in the old days when we were just doing radio before it was also cable, we were up at the college and Beth had been on my show a number of times. So, it was always kind of easy and it was a good time. So I thought, let's see, next week's my birthday. I'd love to have just like a fun guest. So I said, I'll contact Beth and see if I can get her on the show. Beth, of course, passed that off to you. Yeah. So, and just to let you know, folks, Rebecca's just a little bit, she's just sort of getting her feet wet here because not realizing that this is not just, radio. It's also television. And I don't want to scare you, Rebecca, but I will tell you that in the old days, of course, it was just radio. Once we switched to where Pete was, we moved the studio from the college to here, and Pete set it up as, and the city took over the local cable. So once we started doing that, the seniors, of course, switched from radio. They'd much rather watch it on TV. And I think for a lot of them, they almost use it like a radio, like they'll put their TV on, but they're in and out. They're in and out of the room, but they can hear it, and they're in and out of the room, so they're not necessarily watching the whole time. But I think for most of them, plus they like to put a face with a name, right. So it's like, well, who's that guest that she has on? And what does she look like? Or what does he look like?
Makes sense.
So anyway, it does make sense. But we're very low key, as I told you. Don't worry about making a mistake. There are no mistakes on this show because first of all, the Wow It's Tuesday show with Bob Plass is Bob makes a lot of mistakes. And so we laugh about that a lot. It's local TV, so don't worry about it. Right. So first of all, now do you go by Rebecca or do you have a nickname or are you Rebecca?
So it's Rebecca, but I go by Becca because Rebecca is just way
Becca.
It's way too formal for me.
Thank you, because I am one of those everybody's name gets. By the end of the show, I'll be calling you Beck because for me everything gets. By the time I'm done, it's going to be one syllable. But at least we'll go from 3 to 2. So we're going to go with Becca. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I like that name too. All right, so. Here's where we're going to start because you've never been on our show before. Mm-hmm. We don't know you. We only know that you work in Armbrook Village. So let's talk a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? So let's start there. So first of all, where are you from?
So I'm from Agawam.
So you're local, local yokel.
Feeding Hills.
Okay,
so
Feeding Hills.
I went to Agawam School Systems, Agawam School.
Okay.
All through high school.
Okay, good.
Graduated from Agawam High.
Yep.
And then ended up going into college at Assumption College in Worcester.
Now, when you went to Assumption, what did you study when you went there? And did you switch somewhere? Like most college students end up, I started in this major and switched. Did you do that? Or
no, I was actually pretty consistent throughout.
Wow.
4 years. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. That was my main goal.
Wow.
And so I made
That's a lofty goal, Becca.
Right. Clear.
Not impossible, but
right. Not impossible, but hasn't worked out yet.
Okay.
But I first started by doing biology, just plain biology with a concentration in neuroscience. Okay. And then as I went through, I think maybe my junior year or my sophomore year, I added on psychology because I was super interested in it and just how the mind works. It was so intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And so then I did biology with a concentration in neuroscience and psychology.
Okay.
And then ultimately what ended up happening, and it's this crazy chance of luck.
Which is what life often is.
Right. It was just so bizarre. But randomly I got an email from my school, I think maybe junior year, and they said, hey, we have these summer internship opportunities.
Okay.
And these, one of them was senior living residences.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, it's for psychology majors. Why not give it a try? Like, see what it is, apply, see if I get it. If not, okay, whatever, I'll figure something else out. So I applied, and then the next thing I know, I get this interview, and lo and behold, the interview is at Armbrook Village, and I actually started out at Armbrook first as an intern, and I worked as a summer intern there.
And what was it? What was the internship, Becca?
It was actually just kind of I don't know the specifics because that was, I think, maybe like six or 7 years ago.
Okay.
Possibly now.
Okay.
But I know I worked in memory care, and I was working with the memory care residents at the facility, and I was helping with outings and programming and entertainment and that sort of thing. I was like kind of like observation and also like,
which is what an internship is.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it is just getting your feet wet, but it's kind of, observing and how do they do this, and then maybe, being the extra pair of hands that they need, and then maybe so that really kind of was the segue from the hard sciences over to more of the social sciences.
Exactly.
So that internship was between your junior and senior year. So then what happened senior year in college? Where are we going now? What happened?
So since I was living in Agawam, I would visit. So whenever I came home on winter break or whatever break I had, I would visit just to say hi to the residents that I made friends with and the staff, obviously. And then I went back to school senior year, and I remember it because it was like 2 days before my final exam of senior year. I got a call from Beth, and she was like, hey, Becca, what are you doing? I was like, well, right now I'm currently studying for my finals. I have an exam tomorrow. And she's like, well, what do you think about coming home this weekend? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, well, what do you need? And she was
why?
Like, right. She was like, well, I got this idea of a new program, and I want to see if you might be interested in running. And I was like, yeah, totally. Like, I'll check it out.
So at this point, had the idea of had med school kind of taken?
So
or what? Where were you on that?
So I 100% didn't know what I was going to do upon going into senior year, upon graduation. No idea. So I didn't know if I wanted to go to med school or even just go into education. I had no idea.
Okay.
So,
not uncommon, Becca.
Right. And I knew probably by maybe the end of my senior year, I was like, I don't want to do med school.
Okay.
I just really don't want to.
So we're taking that one off the table.
Right. And I was like, and maybe I'll do med school, but maybe not right now. I don't want to do another 4 or 5 or 6 years of schooling after I just did 4.
Yeah.
Or actually more than 4 because it's everything before that.
Yeah.
So I've been in school since preschool.
Forever. Yeah,
right.
Forever.
So I wanted to take a break, and I knew that. So when Beth called me, I was like, okay. Let's see let's see what it is.
Okay.
So I went home, and she originally interviewed me for the Connected Life position that we have. And Connected Life is like a failure-free program. It's a program established for people with mild cognitive impairment. It's kind of like that in-between stage between like assisted living and memory care. So it's the in-between. So originally she was asking me to do more research and try to establish that program. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll see what I can do. I mean, this is literally the week before I'm completely finished with school. I was like, I don't think I can focus on it right now.
But, can you give me 7 days, Beth?
Right. Give me a few days, and I'll see if I can come up with something. And after that, she offered me the position.
So did you start within that program, in the Connected Life program?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I actually ended up, I don't even know how the events
unfolded.
I have no idea. But then all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, would you be willing to do this? Because this is what I need." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I'm up for anything." Like, I have. So at this point, I was already graduated. So I was like, I'm like a open book.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do.
I need a job.
Right.
And my parents would really love it if I got something that was related to what I just got my degree in.
Exactly.
Yeah, been there, done that. All right. It is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. For those of you who are just joining us, my guest this morning is Becca Fondakowski. She is the Enriched Life Director. Do I have that right? Enriched Life Director at Armbrook Village. We're going to learn more about what that is now that she's brought us up to speed on how she ended up where she ended up. So when we come back, we're going to focus a little on some of the interesting programs that you've been doing at Armbrook. So we're going to start there. Right now, in honor of the birthday of Dr. Forrest Bird, who was the inventor of some of the smaller respirators and ventilators, including the pediatric Baby Bird. We're going to listen to the Backstreet Boys singing Breathe. We'll be back.
Roses you left me slowly fading to gray. Your coat on the chair and the scent of your hair I miss. The clock on the wall, it reminds me of all the better times. When we walked in the park and we whispered in the dark and we laughed and cried. And I never knew alone. And wherever you are is home. Without your lips on mine, no, the sun doesn't shine. And no, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Your words are a symphony, music that sings to me. No, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Oh, I walked by the store where we sat on the floor and we ate like kings. Then someone said, "Hey, we're locking the door. No time to play." And I never knew alone. Wherever you are is home. Without your lips on mine, no, the sun doesn't shine. And no, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Your words are a symphony, music that sings to me. No, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Without your lips on mine, no, the sun doesn't shine. And no, I can't. You know I can't breathe. No, the sun doesn't shine. And no, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Your words are a symphony, music that sings to me. No, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:23. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And since Pete just played that little blurb from Ken Stomsky, I just want to do a shout out to Kenny. Kenny was your fill-in last week at the Pride flag raising, Pete. So
I was doing meetings.
You were doing meetings, and Kenny did an awesome job. And thank you guys for getting that up on. Did Kenny do the editing for that too, Pete?
Yeah.
Thanks to Kenny for getting that up on YouTube. I was watching the YouTube. I wanted to see Mary Beth Berrien's speech again. I thought that was so powerful at the event. So I was watching that. Of course, I always critique my own stuff too, but that was great. So thank you, Kenny Stomsky, host of Ken's Den on Tuesdays from 8 to 10. My guest this morning with me is Becca Fondakowski. Becca is the Enriched Life Director over at Armbrook Village Senior Living in Westfield. So Becca, you are everything that Beth said you would be. Enthusiastic, ready to go. And I know it's early for you. It's early for all my guests when I drag them in here at this god-awful hour of the morning. But thank you for coming in. So we now know that you went from, thinking that you might be a brain surgeon to being an Enriched Life Director at Armbrook Village, which is so much cooler.
Right.
And you have so much more that you can talk about.
Exactly.
So we've talked about how you got there, but I had mentioned earlier before you came on that one of the reasons that I had contacted Beth was just because, I'm an avid reader of the Westfield News, as most of the department heads are, and there have just been a flurry of photo spreads about programs and activities that you're doing over at Armbrook. And I had really, contacted Beth to say, can you come in and talk about these? They look so fun. I mean, it makes me, I keep telling Beth, just like, how old can I be to sell my house and have Gary and my husband and I move in there? So talk about some of those programs, some of the, and I know you've got a list of your own favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your favorites. What are some of the programs you're doing over there?
So speaking of the newspaper in general, so there's going to be probably an article coming out relatively soon. It's on a resident's 100th birthday party.
Okay.
That we threw, I think, last Wednesday.
Okay.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
We had the mayor, we had the senator, we had the state representative. It was an awesome party, beautiful day. She owned a blueberry farm up in the hill towns, and so we had blueberry wine, blueberry pie, cake. It was
my kind of party.
It was an awesome event. So that'll probably be in the paper. So you'll probably be seeing that one.
Okay, that'll be the next spread that we see.
Right.
Okay.
But anyway, some of my favorite programs, I would say probably my all-time favorite program that I've kind of hosted is our Texas Rodeo. It was awesome.
Talk about it. So first of all, how did you come up with this idea? Or was it not your idea? Did somebody else come up with it?
So
and say, hey, let's have a Texas rodeo.
So it was part of a program that we call Grab Your Passport. And every single month we have this country or state that we visit. Yeah. And by visiting, I mean we do programming, entertainment, food, everything based off of that location for that month. So I think this month we're going to Spain. This afternoon I have a gazpacho tasting. And I'm going to be making gazpacho.
When you do the Grab Your Passport, Becca, is it a one-time thing, or is it, does it span a few different events?
Oh.
So, like for the Spain one, is it just this afternoon, or are you doing a few different things over the next week or so? Or
It's
how does that
all
work?
month long.
It's all month long.
It's
Okay,
all
that
month
was
long.
my question.
So
Okay.
every week there's probably like 3 or 4 different programs that are
Okay.
based off of the location in which we're traveling
Okay.
to.
Okay.
Even at one point we were stamping fake passports to make them seem like they were actually traveling to the destination.
Very cool.
But yeah, I would say the Texas Rodeo. When we visited Texas, we did a state edition and we traveled all around the states for 1 year of our Grab Your
What'd you do for? I knew about the program because Beth has shared that, but I actually mistakenly thought it was like a one event. So this afternoon we're going to do Grab Your Passport. But so tell us. So what did you do for the Texas Rodeo?
So, wait,
go
going
ahead.
back is
Yes.
actually it did start out as being a one-day event.
Okay.
One thing that I wanted to do is I really wanted to immerse the residents into the culture of wherever we were going.
Got it.
So that's why I kind of made it all month long of activities
Mm-hmm.
on random days throughout the month and all like different days of entertainment and food tastings, wine tastings. For Spain, we have a flamenco dancer coming in and she's going to do a flamenco workshop on the weekend.
Did you find, that's what, how did you find a flamingo dancer?
So I've been blessed because I'm in the generation that knows computers.
Oh, yes, exactly.
So it's relatively easy for me. I'm literally just on there Googling for like maybe 20 to 30 minutes all these random things that have to do with Spain or wherever we're going.
So here's what I think is so funny. So I love that you said that, Becca. So I'm in the generation that knows computers. I am in the generation that knows somebody. So you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who might know somebody who's and that's how I used to do it, and we still do. It's like, oh, let's call so and so. He might know, and we'd call so and so. Well, no, but my sister was doing, and then but it's the end result is the same. You're going to get the flamingo dancer.
Right, exactly.
You're going to get it your way. I'm going to get it my way. But it's going to happen.
Right. So yeah, it's just.
So what did you do for the Texas Rodeo? What was Texas all about?
Going back to the Texas Rodeo.
I'm really thrilled about this. I'm thinking,
we did a whole like barbecue spread. We did ribs. We did cornbread, beans. We did corn on the cob. We had sweet tea. We even had a lassoing contest. We had country music entertainment, and the staff dressed up at like country. Like we wore like flannels and jeans and our cowboy boots, and we went all out. I was doing a lasso throughout the crowd. We had hay bales, decorations all over the place, and this was all outside because this was during COVID.
Oh.
So this was one of our bigger events during COVID time. I think it was probably at the end of last summer, so we only could do outside.
Yeah.
That's all we could do.
There's something about that Western theme, because I can tell you that interestingly, when you said Texas Rodeo, I thought, oh my goodness, at the old senior center in my former life, I was actually hired as a program director, so before I became executive director down the road. But I agree, probably one of the highlights of my programming over there was we did a Western Day. And it was the same thing. We built sort of this saloon, think of like Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty. And I had gone to St. Mary's Church they had like a big tag sale thing. And they had some clothing there. And one of the women and I was actually helping to run it, and I was working there. My daughter was going to school there. Somebody pulled out this dress. It was actually like a square dancing dress. And she said, Tina, do you want this? Because it's like this ridiculously small size that nobody that I can possibly think of would ever want this or fit in it. And I said, at the time I said to her, sure, what the heck, I'll figure out something to do with it. Well, sure enough, so I pulled out the dress, and I found photos not that long ago of the Western Day, and we had the saloon there, and as you said, the hay and all that other stuff, and people wore their cowboy hats and their cowboy boots and everything. And I'm dressed up in this, in this thing, and I look like Miss Kitty from from Gunsmoke. But that was the most. There's something about just pretending you're from Texas and at a, and of course the food,
right.
The food is like, you can't beat it.
No.
So that was, and when you said you did all that during COVID, like that was, last summer was really the height of the pandemic.
Right.
That wasn't just pandemic. That was pandemic. So wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a beautiful day for it? Or
gorgeous. So this was back in September. So I
Okay.
think it was probably in the middle of September.
Nice.
And it was beautiful, not too hot, not too cold. The sun was out all day. And essentially we have a kind of like a wraparound driveway with a carport. And essentially what we did is we blocked off that
You
whole...
had like a block party.
Yeah, we took up the whole space and we
Perfect.
socially distanced everyone. We had so many people come out and help just so we could hand out all their food so no one's coming up and taking and touching food. So we really adjusted to the COVID regulations
Yeah.
to make sure that it was safe for everyone.
And Becca, where you mentioned, so you're this month it's Spain, right? Going to Spain. What are some of the other destinations that you've had on the Grab the Passport program that you thought were more successful?
We went to Egypt. Egypt was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, Egypt was really
See, I wouldn't have thought of that one as being like, like a, but it's like anything. Then you start to get into the culture
Exactly.
and learn about it. And
Egypt was
What was
really
that?
cool. Greece. I would say, obviously, they love the States when we traveled to the States.
Sure,
Because most of them did
Yeah.
road trips around the States.
Sure.
So we went to New York. We did California.
Did you do New Orleans?
Yes, we did.
I was going to say, yeah. I
We
mean,
did.
you think of some of the more obvious ones,
And
where
that
you
one-
could do food and music. and,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that one was in, I think, February because of Mardi Gras.
Yes.
So we usually do that one in February. And we do a huge Bourbon Street bash.
Yeah.
And we do a parade and all that. King
Bourbon
cakes,
Street,
you
yeah.
name it.
It's interesting, Becca. One of the things that I had wanted to do when I brought you on the show was one of the things that we've seen during the pandemic, and I know Beth has as well, is we have a lot of caregivers who are caring for people at home. And when you are isolated and quarantining and doing all the stuff that we've been doing, that is really hard to do. And I think, one of my goals here to get you on was to also say, can we take snippets of your incredibly creative ideas and transfer some of that over to caregivers? And, as you're talking about the Grab the Passport program, that really is a program that is ideal for doing at home because you could do that on a much smaller scale. You read a story or you read a book or you watch a movie that took place wherever in the world or in the United States and, make a meal that has to, kind of what you did, just do everything on a smaller scale. I mean, obviously you're probably not going to hire a flamenco dancer to come into your family room for you, but there are certainly ways to, maybe make a craft that's associated with that, or have definitely, the food piece I think is a big piece that you could say, hey, we're gonna try this new dish and it's it's from Spain or it's from Egypt or it's from Texas or wherever.
Right.
So I think that's a great program for being something that somebody could really have some fun with at home.
Easily adjusted.
I love that. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Let's take a little bit of a break because, of course, we're running at the mouth, so I'm already 5 minutes over my break time. It is 7:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So, in honor of this month is National Dairy Month, so there's, you might just want to throw that in with all your programming stuff. So, we're going to listen to Herman's Hermits singing "No Milk Today." We'll be back.
No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turn night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town becomes a shrine when I think of you only. Just to up to down. No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day. As music played, the faster did we dance. We felt it both at once, the start of our romance. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands for a symbol of the dawn. forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turn night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean street back of town. All that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean street back of town. All that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and in the studio with me this morning is Rebecca Fondakowski. She is the Enriched Life Director over at Armbrook Village Senior Living. So welcome again, Becca. Good to have you. Good to be all excited about these programs. So you've talked to us a little bit about your Grab Your Passport program, which I think sounds. My sense is that program sort of took on a life of its own.
Mhm.
Yes, once you come up with the topic.
Mhm.
Now, how far in advance do you plan your next destination? Do you know like what it'll be next month? Is it one a month? Is that how you do it?
Yep,
Different one each month.
It's one a month, and we have our corporate company comes out with a list, and we pick a list every single
there you
year.
go.
So you
Okay.
have it
Oh, so you-
pre-planned out.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
And you kind of just do the research as
Yeah.
it goes.
Yep.
Or if you see something along the way, even just from driving around town or wherever
Yeah.
you are, you
Yeah.
see something, I always write it down or I make a note in my phone
Yes.
to make sure I have it for that Grab Your Passport program.
All good program directors do things
Yeah.
like that. We have pads all over the place.
Exactly.
So let's talk about maybe another program that you're doing. You choose.
So I am going to talk about mixology in my cooking demo. So I've been doing
Let's
a
talk
ton of
about that.
demos.
All right.
Yeah, so mixology is a class or a demonstration, so to speak, about mixing drinks, mixing beverages. And
this is my kind of class. I'm telling you, Beth, I'm moving in.
Exactly. So the reason why I started this program is we have happy hour every single Thursday, and the residents love happy hour. It's like the big event other than everything else that's going on. They always look forward to happy hour. So I was like, why don't we turn this happy hour opportunity into an educational opportunity? And so that's how I kind of developed the program. I was like, I love mixing drinks. I love to be like an amateur bartender. So like, why not try to like work
Well, there
through
is
together?
really an art and a science to
yeah.
bartending. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not just. It's easy to pour a beer, but when you're actually mixing things together and people are throwing names at you, and you have to know
Exactly.
what's in that drink.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So once a month we do a drink of the month. And
what's the drink this month? Have you already done it for this month?
I have, and I'm actually hesitant to say it because if there's any residents listening, I never give away anything before the event happens.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you haven't done it yet,
you
can always talk about last month if you want to.
Yeah, last month's.
See, it was so long ago.
Oh,
Do you remember last month?
Yes, I do, and it was based off of our Grab Your Passport, and it was to Greece. So we used a Greek liqueur.
Okay.
and it was like a licorice flavor. I can't remember what the name of
the drink was.
The liquor was,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a Greek drink that we made, and also we made a drink by layering different viscosity levels of alcohol to make it look like the Greek flag.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now so when you do this, Becca, you actually do the demonstration. So you're behind the bar, I guess.
Yeah.
And the residents and then what happens? Do they get to sample? Is that the
is
that the idea behind this mixology?
Of course.
So this mixology course is you show them how to do it so they know what's in it, and then it looks pretty or whatever.
Yep.
Then everybody gets to sample it.
Exactly. And the thing is
what's not to love?
Every single time I do one of these mixology classes, I try to introduce a technique that they don't get in like a 99 or some sort of restaurant.
So give us an example.
So one time I did a smoked old fashioned, and I used cedared smoke wood chips, and I smoked the old fashioned, and I also lit the orange peel on fire because if you squeeze the orange peel and you light a lighter at the same time, it sparks, and they created sparks all along the beverage, and it creates like an aromatic feel to the beverage.
Somebody watches Bar Rescue.
Who knew? I've never heard of this. I'm so into this. Is amazing.
Yes. So
Next time I have her on the show, Pete, we're booking her for 2 hours because I got like 1,000 questions.
These are the things I get from watching Bar Rescue. It's one of my favorite reality shows.
I have never heard of Bar. What is Bar? I've never heard of this show. Do you watch it?
I've heard of the show, but I don't watch it.
It's a consultant from Vegas who goes into failing bars. And basically it's like a 3-day boot camp.
Okay.
And he's really gruff and tough with them.
Yep.
It's kind of like the Chef Gordon Ramsay of the bar world.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, Becca, did you just do this like from YouTube and online, or did you actually take, my husband actually took a class like this when we were in college, believe it or not.
So, no, I actually have no background in bartending.
Just, like, this is just something that's fun and interesting.
So, at home, I like to try all different alcoholic beverages and just to see what's good. And
try things.
And to have I don't know, for some reason, I always looked at, like, magazines or TV shows when I was younger, and I saw, like, super elaborate bars and these super elaborate recipes. Yeah. And I always kind of wanted to get into that.
Okay.
But I never did. And then I kind of came up with this opportunity for also myself, not just the residents.
I know, but the thing that's so great about this is so you're doing something that you have always been interested in, and it's a lot of fun, and you are getting paid for it. I mean, does life get any better than this? That's so great.
And right now, so now I'm taking requests because I'm trying to keep up with the demand. So now I'm taking requests from the residents, and so what I've started to do is to do all the old time beverages, like the sidecar and that sort of thing.
Yes. And so now and so it's mixology, but there's also a food component or a recipe, or is it just mixology?
So it is just mixology, but also what I do is I do a cooking demonstration.
Okay, that's what
and the cooking demonstration is no background again. It's literally just I love to cook, and you
and Pete Coles.
Right, I love it.
He does too. He's a great cook.
Love to cook. I've never been a good cook up until I graduated college. Never. And so I don't know. I just ended up one day it just clicked, and I just started to be able to
try some different things.
Exactly. And so I would come in, and the residents would be like, "Oh, what are you making for dinner?"
Okay.
And so I would tell them what I'm making, and they're like, "Wow,
yeah,
it's pretty elaborate. It's like a Tuesday night. Why are you going all out?" I was like, "I don't know. I just want to try something." And so it kind of built off of that, and I just kept telling them what I was making at home, and then ultimately they were like, "Why don't you cook for us?"
So when you do a cooking demonstration, Becca, over at Armbrook, where do you do that? I mean, do you have a kitchen? Obviously, you have kitchens over there, but how do you do that? What's the setup look like?
We have a kitchen. It's called Jean's Kitchen, and it's kind of like your standard kitchen at home. It has an island, has a stove, has a sink, has pots and pans like any other kitchen.
Okay.
And I usually do it there. Pre-COVID, I would do it there.
Yes.
Because we can all crowd around the island and watch me do whatever. And now during COVID.
Post-COVID.
Right. Now during COVID, we have to accommodate for social distancing. So we've been doing it in our large dining room.
Okay.
So everyone could be 6 feet, and we have a little burner. So the demonstrations aren't as elaborate as they used to be because I just don't have the means to do
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we still are doing them.
Okay.
Last month we did Belgian waffles and bananas Foster.
What I don't even know what's in. I've heard of bananas Foster, but what's in it? What
It's
is
like a caramel banana sauce that
Okay.
and we served it with vanilla ice cream, and we poured the bananas Foster sauce on top.
Well, that sounds yummy.
Isn't there supposed to be a flame component to that?
Yes, it is a it is a flambe.
It is a flambe.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got grab your passport. We've got mixology and cooking demonstrations. So maybe one or two more. What else you have on your list there, Miss Becca?
So the biggest thing right now, and I think that gets the most attendance, is probably our continuing education topics.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so one thing that we pride ourselves on is even though if you have Alzheimer's or dementia or any sort of, I don't want to say disability or any sort of condition, you don't stop learning.
Yes.
Even though you have a memory disease
Learning goes on
or something,
for you. Learning goes on
it
forever.
continues forever.
Sure.
So our corporate company developed a program called Reconnections, and it's a program with slides, and you just go back and you talk about things for reminiscing and things to jog your memory.
Yeah.
So I kind of transformed that because we have an independent living side, and they're a little higher functioning, and
Sure.
then they can do more. So I wanted to make it kind of like a college classroom,
Okay.
rather than just a memory program.
Sure. Yep.
So that's essentially what I did. As I turned it up. It's like that program on steroids. I turned it up a notch, and I added videos. I added virtual tours. I revamped kind of.
Now again, Becca, is it like a one-shot deal, or is it is it a series of, or does it depend on the topic?
So we have done a series before. We've done famous individuals from Massachusetts. So we've done series, but then we've also done individual things.
Okay.
And sometimes it's based off of certain holidays.
Okay.
Like the history of Valentine's Day, or because not a lot of people know why we do the things we do or why we celebrate certain things. So I decided to make sure that they know the history behind everything. And everything that we do, you have to learn something. Even if we're just doing a mixology class or even if we're just doing a cooking demonstration, you have to learn some component about
Well,
doing
you're
it.
a scientist. I mean, you could go back to the mixology thing and talk about, why this, and you mix these two things and it fizzes.
Right.
That's actually science-based.
We actually did a science class once because I love science experiments.
Exactly.
So we did do a science class, and we did do experiments like that.
Well, it's really interesting. Pete and I have been doing this show together for many, many years now. And and during COVID, because I used to have two different guests on every week, and, there wasn't a lot, and, you throw the songs in, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of other stuff. But because of COVID, because of, guests and radio and so forth, I've kind of taken to having one guest. But we do a lot with famous birthdays and national days and things like that. And I said to Pete, I've noticed even myself over the last year, my famous birthdays used to be a lot of, entertainers and singers and actors and, people but I've really gotten more into the scientists and the inventors and the explorers, because some of them have just, today it's like the guy who invented the locomotive railroad and the guy, and set up the first 25-mile railway and the guy who invented, portable respirators and ventilators, and the guy who invented the coal miners' light. Because prior to that, it's pitch black down there, and there were all these fires that were starting because they couldn't see them. They were these. So I think all of those things are fascinating, and I like to key in, like the respirator guy. He was from Stoughton, Massachusetts. I love to key in on somebody. It's like, hey, he's one of ours, or she's one of ours. So I think that's great, and really the possibilities are kind of endless. I mean, I just go to on this day, and I look at what happened on this day, who was born, what was going on, and there's take one, and there's your lesson. There's your class. There's your lesson.
Exactly.
So great ideas.
Yeah.
So Do you think you're going to be in Armbrook for a while? I mean, because if you ever leave, I want your job because I think it sounds so fun.
So I've been there for 5 years now.
Okay.
And right now I have no reason to leave.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to leave. I like
where you'd go where you could have more fun.
Right. I don't just like it. I love what I do, and I love the residents and even families. I love the families. That you
talk.
build a relationship.
Let's talk a little bit about your family. So, are the families sort of welcome to participate in these programs or some of the programs? How does that work?
So pre-COVID, they could come to anything.
Yeah.
They could participate in anything. They can have a meal with their family member. Because of restrictions based off of social distancing and how many people, we can't.
Yeah, now we're at room capacity.
Yeah, we can't because
for a while.
I think we have 125 residents.
Yeah.
If we're completely 100% full in the building, so I have to put the residents first.
Yes, of course.
They're the ones paying for it, right?
Yeah.
So I have to fit them before I can fit anyone extra.
Yeah.
And if we're outside, if you are sitting with your loved one or your mother or father and entertainment's going on, it's outside. You can sit wherever you want. There's so much space. So that's not really a big issue for me, but inside it makes things rather.
No, I know. We're all dealing with room capacities right now and so forth. So so obviously, going back to, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, but going back to what can caregivers at home take from the tidbits. Well, they certainly can take the mixology piece. Just go onto YouTube and and I think also that can go with the passport. With a grab your passport concept of we're going to focus on. But as you were just saying too, some of the educational. And for people who are computer savvy, there's just so much that's available. There's so much that's out there, and and all of the themed type of things, cooking. Same. It's like, okay, we're going to try something different. So have you tried different? What is it that you're doing, Pete? The sous vide? Is that what it's called? Sous vide? I haven't tried that yet. Pete's busy.
Sous vide, yeah.
Sous vide.
Yeah,
right.
cooking it.
Have you
it's
tried
cooking
that
in
yet,
warm
Becca?
water.
No, not yet. Okay.
I have not.
All right.
I haven't. I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't breached that gap yet.
Okay, it's all
right. It's good for the single person because you
Right.
can vacuum seal everything and portion it out in
Individual
advance.
size.
Okay. All right.
Season, portion, vacuum, and then just cooking on demand.
Yeah.
And of course, speaking of cooking, folks, I do want to remind our viewers that next week is the third Wednesday of the month. So that means it is our Diabetes Dialogue segment. We'll have Jen DeFune will be joining us second hour. And she's a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, and she's going to be talking about cholesterol and heart healthy fats. So there you go, Becca. I keep saying I didn't realize that there were heart healthy fats. I thought all fats were not heart healthy, but Jen is going to teach us differently. And again, for those of you who would like to either call in with a question, you can certainly do that during the show, or you can call me at the Senior Center or send me an email. All of that is in our newsletter, all my contact information, and ask your question ahead of time, and I'll make sure that Jen answers it next week when she's on the show. And then the fourth Wednesday of the month, of course, we always have Joe Rouse, our Director of Public Health, Joe said he is longing for the day when he's going to come on my show and we're not going to talk about COVID. We're not going to talk about vaccines, and we're not going to talk about numbers and hospitalizations. I said, Joe, remember the good old days when we talked about ticks and, the flu and things like that? So that'll be in a couple weeks. I have to end a couple minutes early today because, as a reminder to our viewers, it is Brown Bag Day at the Senior Center. So we'll be distributing brown bags for those of you who are eligible between 9 and 10 this morning at the Senior Center. Please be respectful of that time frame, and I am not keeping my staff out 1 minute after 10 o'clock because it is really hot and humid out there. Becca Fondakowski, I want to thank you so much for coming in, sharing some of your ideas, sharing your enthusiasm, and I, for one, am real, and I'm sure Beth, I definitely can speak for Beth in saying we are really glad that you decided not to go into neurosurgery, at least at this time. that's an avenue that's open to you down the road should you choose to take it. But I think it sounds like you're fabulous at what you do. Beth is lucky to have you. And as if it were me, I'd be staying there for the rest of my life. And if you ever run out of ideas, we used to do. We've done some pretty kind of cool things at the senior center as well. I think in some respects it's easier when you've got the residents right there. We don't have quite as much to work with, and including even the time frame. But it sounds like you're going strong over there. So thanks to Beth Cardillo for sending me such an enthusiastic and fun person to celebrate my 64th birthday with. Becca, do you know off the top of your head the number of Armbrook Village in case people had questions or in case they wanted to? Are they? I know with COVID it's a little wonky, but are they doing tours to prospective residents? They are.
We're doing tours,
individual tours,
in-person tours, and the number would be 413-568-0000.
I know. I love that number. It's like that is the only number of all my professional friends that I don't have to look up.
Right.
It's just like 568-0000. That's Armbrook Village, located out on 551 North Road. Is that right?
You got it.
All righty. Very good. Folks, thank you. It is 7:58. Have a great week. And next week I'll be back with Diabetes Dialogue. We'll see you then.
I think I'll take a moment to celebrate my age, the ending of an era and the turning of a page. Now it's time to focus in on where I go from here. Lord, have mercy on my next 30 years. In my next 30 years, I'm gonna have some fun. Try to forget about all the crazy things I've done. Maybe now I've conquered all my adolescent fears, and I'll do it better in my next 30 years. My next 30 years, I'm gonna settle all the scores. Cry a little less, laugh a little more. Find a world of happiness without the hate and fear. Figure out just what I'm doing here in my next 30 years. Here we go. All right. For my next 30 years, I'm gonna watch my weight, eat a few more salads, and not stay up so late. Drink a little lemonade and not so many beers. Maybe I'll remember my next 30 years. My next 30 years will be the best years of my life. Raise a little family and hang out with my wife. Spend precious moments with the ones that I hold dear. Make up for lost time here in my next 30 years. In my next 30 years. Oh, oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.